stuff here is called value, form, and light. These are really important things as you're learning to draw and become a better artist to help you create shape and form. As you can see down here, what all of this really means is we're taking a regular circle, a flat two-dimensional shape, and by adding value, form, and light, we can make it into a sphere. And this just looks more three-dimensional. It looks more like a shape you can actually pick up, lift off the paper. It looks more realistic. I also have a couple of worksheets that will help us practice learning our value. And I will put that on the website as well, somewhere, a link where you can download that PDF and we can do this together. So value. Really, value is just a scale of grays, right? We go from really, really dark to as light as possible and every shade of gray in between. To get the darker version, the darkest, we're going to really need to put hard pressure. That means we're really taking a hold of our pencil and we're pushing really, really firm and hard right onto the paper. And then we get a little bit lighter and lighter until we get down to the end where I'm just barely pushing on my pencil. There's a couple of tricks, and this kind of worksheet here helps you just practice that, because it's really about how you control your pencil. It's about you being in control. And a lot of times it's just a matter of practice and getting the muscles, right? The muscles in your hand and your finger and everything to work together just the way you want it to. So let me pull that off to the side. So with this worksheet, and you don't even have to have this kind of worksheet, you could do it on just a plain sheet of paper as well, but this just kind of helps keep me in line as far as I'm going. So in the first box, I'm really going to push hard. Now, by the way, you don't have to have any kind of fancy pencil. These are just probably a Christmas pencil I had laying around, something that might have eraser left over. It's totally up to you. If you have some really nice pencils, like the drawing set I had shown you before, you can absolutely use those and practice with the different pencils that come with that set. Most pencils are just really the right sort of pencil to get you started. So here in the first box, I'm going to try my best to really push hard. I mean, I've got a nice hard grip on my pencil, and I'm pushing super hard to get it as dark as I can. Now, please, you do not have to fill in this whole box, right? But get it in there just enough so you can get going and really get a nice, dark, hard pressured darkness there. Now, every box, I keep moving over and over and over, I'm going to get lighter and lighter. So this time, instead of me pushing as hard as I did in the first one, I'm going to go a little bit lighter, but still dark, right? So I go ahead, maybe I start a little bit lighter, and then I go back and forth until I get just the right darkness. Not as dark as this one, but a little bit darker. And I keep going. A little bit lighter here, right? Don't push as hard. And I go a little bit more, a little bit lighter. Now, if you notice, the lighter I go, I'm actually pulling my fingers back towards the back of the pencil. So I'm not up here, because once I'm up here at the tip, I tend to want to push hard. But if I pull my fingers back, it's a little bit harder to push as hard. So I can go a little bit lighter every step I go, every box. And I just sort of barely touch the paper and get lighter and lighter and lighter until I can just barely touch that paper. Super light. Again, this takes practice. You might start off with dark, 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 or too light, too light, too light. That's okay. right? Hopefully this paper has nice 3 rows. Hopefully by the 3rd one, you're starting to get a hang of it. You're starting to learn how much pressure should you push onto your pencil. And again, if you don't have that sheet, a lot of times before I draw anything, up in the corner, I just practice a little bit with my value scale. I get really, really hard, and then I push away, further away, get a good little scale kind of off to the side. And it's just a way for me to kind of warm up before I get started. So that is how you achieve value. Now, how do we take that value and apply it to that sphere, to that circle? Well, it's pretty much the same thing. What we're going to do is we're going to start really dark, right? And then we're going to get lighter and lighter and lighter. So we're going to put a lot of pressure down at the bottom where the shadow's the darkest. And then as we get closer and closer to our imaginary sun, where all of the light is shining, then we will start to pull off and get lighter and lighter. So what we need to do really is start with a circle. If you have something round at home, some sort of shape you want to draw your circle with, feel free to do that. If you want to freehand it, you can do that as well. For example, if you have something round in shape, you can take one of these, a bowl, a cup, and help yourself just kind of draw that circle around there, and you got yourself a nice circle. If you don't want to do that, you want to just sort of freehand it. A lot of times I tell students, yeah, go for it. Kind of freehand it. A circle can be difficult to draw. So as you notice how I'm drawing it, I'm actually drawing it very light. I always say draw light until it's right. Right? I mean, if I make a mistake and I've drawn really hard, it's difficult to erase. So I draw really light and loose and kind of sketchy, right? It's not an exact line like our others right here. It's kind of loose and sketchy. Once I kind of sketch out a few little lines and I feel like, yeah, that's exactly right. That's where I want it to be. That's when I'll go back in and kind of darken up any area as I draw around and fill it in. And don't worry too much about this being a perfect circle. That's really not what we're trying to go for here. We just want to figure out how to add that value and that form to create a 3-dimensional form, right? We're going to take that circle and turn it into a sphere. So one other thing we need to know is, where's our light source? Where's the light coming from? Is this ball outside, sitting on a playground? The sun is up high perhaps, and it's shining down its light. So I just try to think of anywhere, just while we're practicing, where my light source might be. So I just draw a pretend sun kind of off in the corner, and try to figure out, well, here's my sun, and here's where all the rays of the sun are going to hit the ball the most, right? All of that. So it's going to be the lightest over here. Now the opposite side, the exact opposite, is where it's going to be the darkest. So that's exactly where I'm going to draw the hardest. This is where I'm going to really apply some pressure. Now, as we're drawing a sphere, we're not just going, left to right like we were here. We're not drawing that way. We're actually making a circular shape this time. So what I like to do is kind of think of, I'm kind of drawing almost a crescent moon shape, right? A crescent moon is just a part of the moon that's showing. So something like that. So you can see there's this crescent moon shape here. So in that crescent moon shape, this is how I'm going to draw my, how I'm going to shade my sphere, my circle. So again, on the opposite side, I draw the darkest, right? And as I get closer and closer, I'm gonna keep kind of this nice sphere, this nice circle shape as I go around. Guys, also, don't be afraid to move your paper, right? If you need to move your paper and turn it so you get just the right angle as you're drawing, go ahead and do that, especially because we're doing a circular shape. And a cool thing about this right now is my shape wasn't really circular, so I can kind of go out of the line a little bit and reshape my circle till it's much better shape. So I get a nice dark area right under here, the opposite side. Now, as I get closer and closer, I'm going to get lighter and lighter. But I've got to remember, right, a little less pressure. So I get another kind of middle gray. That would be basically, right, we're going from the darkest, the first box, we're going to go to the second box pressure, the third, the fourth, the fifth, as we get lighter and lighter. So a lot of times I just turn the paper so I can maintain, I can keep that pressure just right and the shape of the circle going just right. See how I'm swooping around and kind of making a crescent moon kind of shape and turning until I get it just the right shape, because I want to make sure this stays looking like a circle, right? Keep turning that paper. So I've got that crescent moon shape, right? Now I'm going to get even lighter. And you can actually see it starting to take place. All this shading and shadow and value and form, it's starting to take place. So now we're going to go like third box, right? Lightness, and I get a little bit lighter. Pull back from your pencil if you need to, so you don't push quite as hard, and you're just swooping around, creating that circular shape as you get lighter and lighter, right? And you can even go around the edge just a bit, and I turn and I turn and keep going round and round. Now, like I said before, this is going to take practice, right? A lot of times whenever I draw or do anything artistic, I don't quite get it the first time. That's okay. It's a lot like learning to ride a bike, skateboarding, swimming, learning a new game. There are things that you just don't quite get at first, but the more you do it, the better it is. So we're going to keep getting lighter and lighter, right? Kind of keep that same shape as I pull it around just a little bit, and you're almost making this kind of circle right in the circle, right? And we've got to have that shine. There's going to be a shine to this. Now, a lot of times as I go through it, I'll try to find where I can go back and sort of darken up maybe around the edges. It's not quite the same. I'll go back and maybe smooth out my pencil, because what happens is your pencil starts to get this really flat kind of shape on it. I like that. That's great when you're starting to shade and kind of want that nice, flat, easy kind of pencil going on. So you can even just sort of leave that empty. You don't even have to color that. But there you go, right? That's your basic form and light and value. We went from really hard and we got a lot less pressure as we went up. One more thing before we go. The one thing that I really think makes artwork look even more spectacular is when you throw in that cast shadow. A cast shadow is the shadow that the ball makes onto the ground. So right now it's just this floating ball up in the air, but to give it even more weight and form is to throw that cast shadow. So it's a ball, and when a ball casts a shadow, it's sort of a round shape, almost like a pancake, right? And again, did you see how I lightly drew that in? Really light, not too dark, till I kind of figured out where should that go. So right next to it, you can see it kind of goes under, right? And I get this darkness right where it touches the ground. And then I go lighter and lighter. The further away that shadow goes, I get a little bit lighter, right? And I go back, maybe I darken it up just a little bit more where it touches the ground, and then I pull it out light, 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 right? Now we've got a cast shadow. You just took that circle and turned it into a beautiful sphere. That's your basic first thing to know about learning to draw and adding value.